Okay, today on AI Applied, there's some news out of Apple, but it's sort of a series. Buckle up, folks, like for the hype machine to get going again here. But I do want to kind of also talk, as Jaeden and I were talking offline, about what does this mean for the broader implications of AI, especially being able to talk to things aloud, like with Siri, maybe being able to talk to your Apple apps. Allowed, your iOS apps allowed, but what does it mean for the Perplexity Comet browser? What does it mean for Microsoft's for their new browser and Edge, where you can just talk to it? I've been testing a ton of that stuff. I'm going to pass it over to Jaeden. And guys, remember, I always want to kind of kick this off by saying, if you have not checked out AIbox.ai, this is Jaden's company. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's blowing up. Super, super happy for him, because since I've known you, Jaeden, you've been working your tail off on this, and you really made sure that the rollout was awesome, and it really, really nailed it. But the idea here is that you pay $19 a month, and you get access to all the models that we're all paying over $100 for. So you can, test it out against Claude, Grok, Gemini, GPT. It's what I do naturally, except I pay like 8 times what Jaeden is charging on it. So super thrilled about it. AI Box is actually growing as well. So there's going to be some new stuff in the future, which I can't wait to talk about. But right now, guys, check it out. AIbox.ai. It's super, super awesome. Jaeden, on this Apple story, I want to kind of like get a sense from you, because you were doing a ton into this. What is this whole thing about talking to apps? Because then I want to sort of like compare to what's out there, because I've been doing a bunch of testing across different platforms.
Yeah, so overall, I'm excited for the prospect. And I know there's a lot of people that are cynical and skeptical, because Apple has been very slow at rolling out any updates to the AI. People from the very beginning said, just throw ChatGPT and like voice mode into
Some people, Jaeden,
Siri.
you and I have been saying this. When you're like, what I've heard said at times. That's you and me.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, okay? I'll be honest, it's ridiculous. But the hype machine is going, because there are new rumors, and I'm excited for these rumors, okay, Connor? So don't spoil my excitement as I dream about the reality, or the possibility that maybe my iPhone could actually work good and properly with AI tools, like Google's Pixel. Freaking, I almost bought it. Okay, so here's what they're saying. Basically, they're saying that Siri is going to allow users to operate apps using just your voice. I think this is phenomenal. We know we're moving into an age where everything's very agentic. You and I both have talked a lot about Microsoft's Copilot, building Copilot into things like Microsoft Edge, so it's actually taking action for you. It's reg modeling all of your tabs. There's like all these cool things that we can do. All of these capabilities would be incredible inside of the iPhone, and I think a lot of people are excited for them. And the precedent and background on this is that back in 2024, Apple showed off this really cool demo of what they said was going to be a quote unquote new intelligent Siri, and it was going to connect all of your different apps. It was going to get all sorts of information, but it has yet to see the live day. We've not actually seen this out of Apple, and they keep delaying the launch. And finally, they said, all right, actually, joke's on you guys. Apple Intelligence's new Siri update isn't coming till spring 2026. So I think a lot of people just like died internally. Is it going to be amazing? Yes. My one concern about this, because first of all, it sounds phenomenal, and I think they're so far behind, they have to make it phenomenal to pull it off. My one concern about this, though, is by spring of 2026, like everything in the world is going to be way far ahead, and whatever they come up with is going to feel old. So that's my only concern. But it does seem very cool. And this is a report, by the way, coming out of Bloomberg. So it's not like, I don't know, some random Twitter handle that could be a good source, but, is tweeting about this. We have a whole Bloomberg article about this. And apparently it'll be able to basically take action on a bunch of different apps. And they're already testing it with a whole bunch of platforms. They're already testing it with apps like Uber, Alltrails, Temu, Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp. Hey, go send Connor a WhatsApp message saying X, Y, and Z. Send him a photo of blah, 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 blah. It sounds very useful. It sounds more like an assistant that can actually do things for you. I just hope they can pull it off.
Yeah, no, I do too. I don't know. Like, I just feel like these things should be easier. Like with Alexa Plus, I think on Hard Fork, on that podcast Hard Fork, they were interviewing the guy who does like Alexa Plus, and just sort of like asking why this is so hard, and they were sort of like railing against that. Apple's in a little bit of the same boat. It's like, guys, you have everything you need. You did the hard part. You have the device. You have a device in everybody's home or in everybody's house, to the tune of billions of devices. The large language model already exists. How is this so hard? It really is puzzling to me, and I try to sort of like be pretty fair about this, but I don't get it. But for this in particular, I think what it's going to show is kind of like how we're going to start interfacing with these devices. So I can sort of see this as really changing how we operate devices entirely, right? Rather than, kind of like swinging through to sort of like to all your apps, opening them up, logging in, facial recognition, all that kind of stuff. It's just going to be a much more streamlined thing. So I'm always interested in this to kind of get a sense of how the future is going. But the other thing I've been doing on stage recently with organizations has been demoing a couple of cool things that I find cool. And by the way, I usually try to demo just like super practical. Hey, here's how you're going to drive adoption, all AI adoption, all that kind of stuff. But also it's kind of fun just to look into where we are getting very quickly. And a couple of things, like number one is that Microsoft has rolled out GPT-5 in Copilot. I think that's a big win for Microsoft. I really do. Even though Copilot can be a little bit hit or miss, it just can be, right? I'm super bullish on Copilot because I feel like they're the adults in the room, and when it comes to enterprise, they're gonna figure it out. It's gonna get better and better. I love Mustafa Suleiman at the head of this as sort of like the super conversational, super emotional intelligence guy. But then Perplexity's Comet. We probably did an episode on this at one point, Jaeden. But demoing it live was actually really great because I would put up the voice interface, and it's sort of like almost just like lives on the side of your screen, and you're just talking to it, and you're like, hey, open a website to aibox.ai, and it'll do that. Jaden's coming, right? Like it'll do that. I'll be like, okay, now open this, and it will just do that. So it's essentially really an agentic browser, and it actually works pretty well. I've connected to Google. I've connected my Gmail. Hey, write a Google, write a Gmail. Now, like all these things, I couldn't get it to work every time. It's not actually that useful because it's not predictable enough yet. But then, of course, Microsoft has Edge, and I've been testing that too with Copilot as sort of like the Edge companion in there. And I actually kind of love this, even though it's not as helpful, because it sits there and you're just talking to it as if it's Copilot, and it's really great. It has GPT-5 under the hood, and it can see what's on your screen. So I'll have like a post open or something that I don't totally understand. I'm like, hey, do you see this? It's like, yeah. I'm like, what are you reading into this? And it'll say like, well, I think this and this. I'm like, well, what about these other tabs? Well, I think this. It's just cool. I think what they're doing is actually really cool, and it's giving a sense of the more about interface and user interaction rather than what's going to actually change today. I know you've actually had success with some of these AI browsers and AI agents like Operator and all that kind of stuff, but wanted to kind of get your take on it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of Operator, one thing I will just put out there in case anyone missed the news: Operator is actually getting like decommissioned and killed. They're just completely discontinuing Operator because they basically rolled it into ChatGPT, into the agents thing, and so that's where that lives. So that is kind of interesting to me. One thing that I will say is I agree with you on the Copilot in Edge. Edge is not my main browser that I have used my whole life.
Same.
For the first time ever, though, I'm like, you know what? There's like some use cases where if I need to do some certain things, I would pull up Edge and legitimately use its Copilot to do them. And one that I think we both talked about, this very cool, is basically it can rag model all of your tabs. So if you're doing like a research on some sort of topic and you have like 20 tabs open, you can ask it, hey, based off of everything I have pulled up, like, okay, I did it for like barbecues. I was like, what's the cheapest barbecue? Or maybe what's the most quality, but it's also like the least expensive barbecue of all the like 15 tabs I have open, and it goes and researches it and like breaks it down for you. To me, that's
Cool.
a really, really cool use case. Now, I think it was basically the first time I got a glimpse into what some of these agentic applications are going to feel like. So I'm imagining like Siri with on iPhone, how it's going to act as it interacts with different apps. The one thing that I will say is I actually had trouble getting their microphone to like be able to switch, like pick a microphone. So I couldn't actually talk to the Edge browser thing, and I tried to look through the settings, couldn't figure it out. Maybe it's a me problem, but chatting with it, I got the idea, and I can imagine if you turned on that microphone and started talking to your browser and it was able to like look at stuff and research stuff, it'd be super, super useful. Now, there's of course the next step, which is taking action, and that's what OpenAI has really been rolling out inside of ChatGPT with their agent mode. This is, I think, very exciting. And again, it's not perfect, but it's so close you can taste it. And I think a company like Apple, we talked at the beginning of the episode about Apple's Siri things. I think basically Apple might even have some technology that's similar or maybe a little bit behind OpenAI's agents. But it's not perfect, and OpenAI's isn't perfect. And so I think because of that, Apple holds back. They're like, no, we're not releasing it unless it's completely perfect. Is that the winning strategy? I think that's a big debate if it's better to hold back. I am, of course, just for like put the bleeding edge stuff there. Let me figure out what it's capable of doing. I'll find some good use cases. I don't need it to be perfect, but I think some people want it to, do whatever it's supposed to do perfectly, especially if it's on your phone and maybe you're asking it to like open up my banking app and like tell me how much is in my checking account, and then, you know, send me a message or a text on some, you know, like send it to my wife or whatever, right? Like you can imagine your personal data on your phone. It's probably a little bit more concerning. Whereas like something like ChatGPT's agents are on a like running on a virtual machine without any sort of data on there that you didn't explicitly give it. So I think there are some like pros and cons. But I think that we're getting very close. The agentic stuff on ChatGPT is very close, and I'm excited for whatever Apple rolls out with Siri. Give it a year or two, and we are going to be living in a different world, I feel like. So it's pretty exciting, if I'm being honest.
I think so too. Actually, you bring up a good point just to sort of close out too, which is, I think one of the huge things about open source that we talked about way more early on, and especially I think we thought Meta would be like really ahead of where they are right now, to be honest, or at least I did. And I think one of the whole things was like, oh, now this smaller model can fit on your phone, total privacy, all that sort of stuff. Now we kind of like integrate it into our devices. The challenge there, I think, is that people don't want the smaller, once they get used to sort of like the bigger model and the more powerful model, they no longer want that like really small model and all that kind of stuff. So I think back in the day we thought like, oh, you're gonna have a GPT-4 caliber uh you know um on device large language model to sort of like completely help you out and all that sort of stuff, like, and you don't have to send anything to the cloud, you don't have to send anything to anybody, it's total privacy, and combine that with Apple privacy and all that sort of stuff, and it's fantastic. So the problem is I think everybody wants the large language models, on that you can only sort of like get directly from like OpenAI. But I love what so tell me what you're doing now, so tell the audience like what you're looking for right now.
I'm just throwing some B-roll in the background, but basically I was trying out the new GPT 5 using agents. So basically one of the big updates that GPT-5 has done is that it's better able to do these multi-step tasks. So what agents really need to understand is when you give it a task, how to break it down to multiple pieces and how to follow through on all of those different pieces. GPT-5 is much better at doing that, which is perfect for agents. They're using it to power their agents. I asked it a question, which was find the best burrito shop in New York and get me their email. I should have done something much more complex, but I was thinking about it on the fly. But yeah, it's really impressive. It's able to do multi-step stuff. In the past, like what I actually used Operator for was way more complex, where I was like basically getting it to like edit podcast episodes for me, upload them, download them, make like thumbnails, like just do all this crazy stuff. And it wasn't perfect at like basically what I'd give a virtual assistant or an employee as a task. But I think it's definitely getting there. And with GPT-5 now being better able to understand these workflows, we're getting to a much stronger place. So very excited about what the future holds. It's definitely all getting very, very, very exciting. And if you're interested in what the future holds for you and kind of learning about that a little bit more and figuring out how you can best leverage a lot of these AI tools, the number one way I recommend to do it is to actually go and take Conor's AI mindset course. It's not something that's gonna, like you watch these tutorials on YouTube, they're like how to use AI agents to message 100 people on Facebook Marketplace, or like, some ridiculous task where they're showing you a click by click thing. This isn't what his mindset course is. It basically gives you frameworks for understanding every time there's a new update, a new advancement in AI, how to use it and how to better grow your skill set, how to think about AI tools, and how to actually drive practical change in your organization and for yourself. Not just learning the new whiz bang thing, but actually apply those changes. And so I recommend checking it out. There's a link in the description. Overall, we're super excited about everything happening with agents right now. This is definitely the future. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. Make sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you in the next episode.